Joining us now for newspaper review is Bimbai Mutiniri Ekpeyong. Good morning, Bimbai.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rotus. Good morning, Rufai. Finally, the Democratic National Concert is over. I called it a concert. I said what I said without Beyonce. Huh?
Yeah, she
but I
wasn't
heard
going to show.
Kamala Harris was your special guest, so.
It's a concert.
And the ratings were pretty high, too.
I just had to, of course, because everybody was expecting Beyonce.
Yeah, you want to compare the ratings with the Republican National Convention?
No, guys.
Which was higher? Well, the Republican National Convention was higher in ratings, right?
The New York Post said so.
Let's
kidding.
come back
Really?
to Nigerian news.
Yes,
Okay, I just had to have my
And the crowd
moment.
was
Of
bigger,
course.
right?
You know, we got
Order now, okay?
Go on, Bimbai.
Let's go straight to
Just
this
let's
day
go.
newspaper, our newspaper of record, of course, leading with, of course, today is all about the CJN outgoing and incoming, which is the lead story. Tinubu Ariwoola's leadership in judiciary impactful Enriched Nations Jurisprudence. What I thought was quite notable there was a statement from Minister Attorney General Fabemi, who says as he advises governors to obey the Supreme Court judgment on LG autonomy. And he tells the state AGs this, which I found a little bit strange because, you know, why are we having to advise and encourage governors to follow the law? LG autonomy is now part of the law. So, you know, us kind of having to massage their egos to abide by it is unfortunate. Anyway, for the next few days, I suppose, we will all be dissecting the CJN's legacy. Notably for me is really the fact that I think his family is forever going to remember his time in office. Of course, in his first 2 years in the position, he made his son a judge of the Federal High Court, his daughter-in-law a judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, his brother auditor of the National Judicial Council, which of course was chaired by himself, and another reported member of his family, a justice of the Court Appeal. So they will certainly always remember his time, and maybe that is his legacy as CJN, is that his family will keep the fire burning. Another huge report there under the masthead is from Bloomberg, which says Dangote oil refinery increasingly skipping U.S. crude for local supply. Now, the report says that the plant is set to secure just over 4/5 of its feedstock from domestic sources, and the facility is set to start petrol output in September. And of course, we know that I think we can hold Dangote Oil Refinery to their promises. It's not going to be a Port Harcourt refinery situation where they'll be postponing, the output of product for months to come. I believe they have started testing product. So also exciting to hear that more of their crude is coming from domestic sources. So that's a positive development after all that we saw happening over the past few weeks. And at the top, still oil leading the business news today. Owando completes $783 million acquisition of any subsidiary Nigerian Ajap Oil Company. Of course, yesterday, Owando was also in the headlines about that alleged deal with OVH, and NMPC has come out to refute it. However, positive development there as Owando is, increasing their footprint in the oil sector. Let's move to Business Day. Business Day is leading with quite an interesting headline as they say that the cost of living crisis is easing as prices of gari, potato, tomato drop. And they're even going as far as saying, could there be an interest rate cut in September? Might be pushing it a little bit. However, it will be interesting to see how those statistics, cost of living, inflation statistics are impacted by the fact that there is currently fuel scarcity and most people are having to buy from the black market. So it might cancel out the gains that we're seeing in the ease in costs of some of the food in the market. Another interesting report on the front page of the Business Day, as it's Friday, some people will be jollophing and pepper souping. It says wine falls to 5-year low on inflation, empty wallets. So wine consumption in Nigeria is currently at its lowest in 5 years, of course, because the price is just unaffordable for so many people. Now to the Guardian newspaper. Guardian is leading with a special report about insurgency in the northeast and talks about how thousands are in dire straits as support dries up in border towns. Now, this is as NGOs and even the IDP camps are now struggling to get assistance. They're now struggling to get food, resources towards them, and they've now sort of just been left stranded. So this is a detailed report about this developing humanitarian crisis in the northeast, a especially around those border towns where it seems the world is losing interest in the plight of those who have been impacted by insurgency over the past few years. Another big story on the front page of The Guardian, Delamo Modu has come out to add his voice to all that's currently going on in the PDP. He says don't destroy the PDP, and he is warning those in the NEC and in the NWC. And, you know, he put out quite a scathing statement saying PDP is not owned by any one individual. And he just hopes that the party can make it through this. So that's on the front page of The Guardian. Now to Punch newspaper. It looks like the controversy around the Lagos-Calabar highway is not going away anytime soon, as Punch reports that landowners are suing the federal government over the 15 trillion naira Lagos-Calabar highway. Governor Umahi vows to continue the project and insists that the government is paying compensation. Landowners are saying that they are yet to receive the compensation that was promised to them. The federal government has also ruled out that there will be no new roads in 2025, that the plan is to complete existing projects. If this can be done, if they can keep to that, it would be phenomenal, because we're, you know, this recurring cycle of starting projects and they're left halfway, then the next administration comes and so forth. So it will be interesting to see whether they can keep to that promise. Another interesting story that didn't get so much space, but it's next to the masthead there of The Punch, which is that the Labour Party in Edo State is refuting claims that they were given a 1.6 billion naira offer to go into alliance with the APC. There was a story doing the rounds that Olumide Akpata had accepted $1.6 billion, billion naira, excuse me, sorry, 1.6 billion naira from the center to ally with APC for the Edo governorship elections, and they're saying it is a big fat lie. And of course, Tinubu cuts short his France trip to swear in the CJN today. I know people have been asking, what's a work stay? He was in France for a work stay, but anyway, he's cut that short to come back and face business here in Nigeria. Quickly to the Vanguard. Vanguard is talking about the release of detained protesters now. This is concerning the End Bad Governance protests, as of course we know protesters are still detained. Onayacom, Arewa Youth, CSOs are saying arraign or release protesters before August 25th or face legal action. And they're also asking the NHRC to investigate the killing of 22 protesters. And so that is still the fallout of the hashtag End Bad Governance protests. Now let's head over to Kenya very quickly, where we're seeing Raila Odinga, the infamous Kenyan opposition politician, who has decided to evolve out of opposition politics. He's now running for the top job at the African Union. That's the Star Kenya. So the Star is leading with the story that Raila has stepped up his AU bid with 19 states supporting him. And of course, a candidate requires votes from at least 34 nations to win his post. But since he's attempted the presidency of Kenya about 6 times, I believe, maybe this is his calling, is to go into governance of, all these African NGOs and oversee the affairs of the continent at the AU. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Internationally, the independent UK. This is quite a sad report. There's been a lot of reporting around this new Alzheimer's drug that has just been cleared for use in Britain. But unfortunately, the NHS has said that they won't fund this wonder drug that is said to do wonders for Alzheimer's patients. Now, we know that there are over 700,000 people in the UK living with Alzheimer's who thought that this wonder drug would come with, would be their saving grace. Now the NHS is saying that's not going to happen. We know that although economic indicators are looking more positive in the UK, the cost of living crisis is still biting. It's still very intense. So a lot of people rely heavily on the NHS to be able to access funding. And now, unfortunately, this drug will not be available to them. Now let's head over to the Financial Times. Financial Times made me excited because it's actually leading with an African story. There we see an image of Botswana's president, President Masisi, who's taking a close look at the second largest diamond in history that has been found in Botswana. Now this diamond is 2,492 carats. Now, this is the second biggest diamond after the Cullinan diamond. And we know the Cullinan diamond was found just over a century ago, and it was used for the British crown jewels. Now, if we'll just take a close-up look so you can appreciate the size, I believe we do have an image of President Masisi holding this diamond, just so you can understand the dimensions of it. It's estimated to be worth around $40 million. And it was found by the Lucara Diamond Company. And of course, Lucara Diamond's share price jumped up by 40% after the discovery of this diamond. Rotus Rufai, does this inspire you guys to propose? Because, this is
A share of the diamond.
I mean, it's only $40 million.
Right. But no, I was thinking more of the mining sector. So Botswana, of course, as far as its exports. Yeah, you are a romantic indeed. Diamonds are definitely there, up there. So yeah, good on them. It just tells you the value. I think it was $7 billion is what they exported as far as diamonds are concerned in fiscal year 2023 or 2022. So, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Just before you proceed, I want to chime in on that. So I went to university in Cape Town, and there were a lot of students from Botswana, and they were all under government scholarship. So Botswana does incredible things with the revenue that they make from their diamond sector. They sponsor tertiary education for, I believe, about 60% of their young adults, not just in Botswana, but around the world, with money from their diamonds.
Which is, again, the case that if you eliminate fuel subsidies in Nigeria, you can fund a number of these type of initiatives from education to healthcare. I'll continue to repeat this. Thank you so much for that point, Vimbai. To the cover of Business Day, it's very encouraging to see that prices of staple foods are falling. Gari, tomatoes, yam. Of course, we can attribute that to the harvest, but to marry that with the import duties, ending the import duty, well, not ending, temporarily removing them for at least the next 150 to 80 days. With Christmas coming up soon, we hope that the momentum is maintained. And then on the cover of This Day newspaper in I'll get more into this in the business section, but Owando finally completing the acquisition of Agip, I think $783 million. They're going to be getting a number of key assets in terms of oil blocks, in terms of pipelines and so on. Owando stock is up 264% year to date. It's reminiscent of Seplat being able to get a hold of Mobil's assets. Seplat itself also up as well. So encouraging news there, Vimbai.
All right, so to the NHS, whilst yes, it seems like disappointing news that they are not funding the wonder drug. I think it's such a likanema, but the truth is, one of the reasons, or the reasons they've cited, is that the benefit of the drug, which is seen to be able to decelerate Alzheimer's in older people for up to 6 months, about 6 months, does not justify the cost. So the benefit, side by side, the cost is not justifiable. It's too expensive for the benefit. Then the second part of it is also concerns around the side effects, which include swelling and bleeding in the brain. And even though they've said, oh, it's tested, it's, you can use it, but those are some of the concerns of the British people. I mean, if you look at the NHS and how they're cutting spendings with regards to the government, the Labour government, you would understand that they cannot just invest or put money or further investment in the health sector in that manner. So if anyone would want to get that drug, it would have to be private. It's still open private, but NHS won't fund. I don't think the NHS will fund a lot of things, recently because of the fact that they're trying to cut spending. Then moving away, I was going to highlight a report, an investigative report done by the This Day newspaper with regards to passports. I say this because we'd only just spoken about the increase in passport fees for the small and bigger passports. And I'd said at the time that I don't think the issue is the cost. The issue or the challenge is the efficiency and availability of these passports. And this report shows that there's actually been a scarcity of passports for the last few weeks. How can you increase the price of a commodity when you have within or in the midst of poor performance of that item? I think it's very sad. I highlighted, and this is just calling on the Minister of the Interior, Olubumitunji Ojo, because he's done a great job so far. A lot of people have praised him as one of the star boys of the ministers of this administration, but he needs to look into that, not just just in Nigeria, but also in our consulates across the world, that Nigerians do not have access to their passports. They said there's been a surge in people coming to obtain their passports as a result of many people who are jackpying. Jackpying simply means they're emigrating because of the current economic situation. So it's important that if we're going to increase the price of certain things, there must be efficiency. He must address the rackets in that, in that space. It's still scarce at the moment, and people are still looking to get their passports.
So demand has increased, supply has fallen. Yes. So price goes up.
Price goes up. Yeah, no, but that's not. Beyond that is that before price went up, passports have been scarce for many years.
Right.
So at that rate, you're trying. You don't explain the economics for inefficiency. Don't try and use the laws of the
demand. You said it yourself. Demand surged with Nigerians leaving.
Okay.
Supply fell. We have domesticated production of. We've domesticated production.
Wait, hold on. Can I speak?
It's my speaking time. Of course.
So domesticated it, but guess what? It hasn't come into effect. So they say he made the announcement earlier this year, but it's still.
So they're importing, right?
They're still importing.
And what's happened to the exchange rate?
It doesn't matter. What he promised was
the exchange rate that has made the cost of importing them more. So that's why the price has gone up.
Let me finish my point. The point is that it is holding public officials to account. When they state something, then they should make good on it.
True.
He announced earlier that they were going to domesticate the production of these passports, and ensuring that, number one, will affect supply, number two, the quality of the passports we receive, and also, of course, availability. It hasn't been done. So why hasn't this been done? He gave a timeline, he gave a deadline. So I'm highlighting the fact that if we increase prices and you are asking people to pay more, what we're asking for is efficiency in that sector. We must speak up for this. Internet has been going on for so long.
Fair point.
I mean, so you can't legislate mediocrity in Nigeria. So Nigeria also sends children abroad in scholarship. There are a couple of Nigerians that are in scholarship in schools. But the reason why Botswana can do a lot more, because they've had stable leadership. They don't have leadership, as in Nigeria, that comes to admit to you that all the roads that remains to be done will cost 16 billion. And that same leadership goes to start a new road with 16 trillion. And it goes to start a new road with 15 trillion, rather than spend that 15 trillion on the pre-existing road project so you know you've cleared all your backlogs. Secondly, Botswana is able to save for the future because they have some level of steady thinking heads. The Pula Fund, which is the sovereign wealth fund of Botswana, it's one of the biggest on the continent. You know how much they have in that pot for the future generation yet unborn? About $4.1 billion in Botswana. It's clear head, clear thinking. Our own sovereign wealth fund, what did we do with the money? Part of it was also used to buy Super Tucano jets. Till today, we've not seen what has that amounted to. So you see, like I said, you can't explain culture in isolation. Everything you say is strategy. Culture will always eat strategy for breakfast. Except we get to a culture where we do things right, nothing will move forward in the country. So that's why you can see some of this traction. And us too, we have started mining gold in this country. We brought out some gold where the CBN bought on behalf of the president last year. The question is, where's our revenue from gold? It's always a problem. Moving on to Kenya real quickly. I'm not a fan of Raila Odinga because all he does is he uses running for power to be able to leverage deals for himself. Today now he has gone back to become friends with Ruto so that they'll be able to campaign for him to become head of African Union or thereabout, isn't it? But the truth is, how about the people that died in the protest when you brought the people out on the roads first? Because you felt that your election was botched, they had done you and things like that. So you just keep negotiating. And you see, Odinga has a pattern. He did the same thing with Kenyatta. Tail end, he negotiated something for himself. Now he's done it with Ruto again. So Baba, like they call you, try. Coming up to the local scene, there are many stories making the rounds, but one story I would like to ask Umai about is, does it make logical sense? If you say 16 trillion will complete all the roads left and done in the country, and you go start a new project with 15 trillion, why didn't you deploy that resource to complete all the road on ground before you start a new road? That's just the question I have to ask him. And people are already going to court as regards compensation, as regards this coastal road. So have they sorted out all of that properly? I rest my case.
And I wonder if Leila ever got her environmental assessment.
That's a great question.
I don't think so. Yes, I remember when the Minister of Information came on the visit, he had asked.
No, there was a response by the Ministry of Environment that they said they granted that preliminary. But was it a holistic one? Was it properly done? I think that's the bone of contention.
Yeah, so that's the document we're still waiting for. Thank you so much for being by.
Thank you, Vimbai.